Okay, thank you. Hi folks, my name is Jim March. I'm one of the vice chairs of the Pima County Libertarian Party. And the Republican Party, gentlemen, started with a statement of principles, and that's what we're all about too. But our statement of principles is a little different because we're not just a political party. We're also a personal philosophy. So our statement of principles starts with the word I. I will not initiate force against another person or hire anybody to initiate force on my behalf. Force is defined as anything from fraud on the low end to murder on the high end, everything in between. All of our principles, all of our beliefs, and all of what we advocate for stem from that principle. There's some harsh truths that the Libertarian Party is willing to confront that the other major parties either don't know about or don't think about enough or are ignoring. I'll give you an example. Over in the state of California next door, the Democratic Party pretty much owns the political infrastructure of the state. They run that state. And they're having a pretty huge budget crisis right now. And over here in Arizona, the Republican Party pretty much dominates the state politics. And we're having a pretty huge budget problem. And the fact that there's a pretty huge budget problem in both of those states, no matter who's running it, tells you that somebody's not thinking about income versus expenses quite well enough on either of the major parties. And we believe that that's something that needs to be looked at in much more detail. I'm sure the folks from Patriot would probably agree explicitly. It's one of the beliefs we share, no question. The other sad truth that we're willing to talk about and confront is the fact that every single law is enforced at gunpoint. Okay? Even something as simple as jaywalking. If you get enough tickets from jaywalking and you don't pay the fines, you'll end up in the pokey. And if you try and get out of the pokey, you'll find out that, yes, there is guns behind every law, even one as simple as that. So we ask the question, of every law, of any particular law, is it worth pointing a gun at somebody to enforce it? For example, if somebody's sitting there minding their own business smoking pot, is it worth having somebody point a gun at him to make him stop doing that? And we think, no. We don't think pot is particularly smart. I'll tell you right now, I've never even tried the stuff. But is it worth me having a cop, as a voter, voting in representatives who vote the kind of laws, who support the kind of laws that causes a cop to point a gun at a pothead? We don't think that's a good idea. And so that defines what we are as a movement, that tendency not to mess with anybody else's business and not wanting our business messed with. It's really as simple as that. Out in the hall, the only thing I brought was a one-page flyer. It's very simple. Gives a few general statements on what we believe and some examples. But it also does something else. It links to a graphic novel and a full-on novel that are available free on the internet that were each written by libertarians to try to show you what a really hardcore libertarian society might look like. And it's different enough, each one is different enough from what we have today, that they had to be written as science fiction. And they're pretty entertaining. But anyway, the links to both are free on that sheet. Take a look at them. And we don't expect everybody to turn libertarian. We understand that. Within the Democratic Party, there's people who are freedom-minded enough that people end up calling libertarians. On the Republican Party, there's actually an organized group called the Republican Liberty Caucus that is a libertarian infiltration movement inside of the Republican Party. And they're sometimes called Ron Paul Republicans, after their best-known example. And it was libertarians who were involved in the original founding of the modern Tea Party movement around 2007 as a late Bush-era protest against the bank bailouts. Ernie Hancock, prominent libertarian in Phoenix, was one of the first of the so-called Tea Party people that says, let's mail tea bags to politicians up in Washington about how our budget's being messed with. So anyways, take a look at that flyer. I brought 200. It should be enough for everybody. Open your minds. Thank you.